Well, hello, America. This is the last audience that will join us, because tomorrow it's just you and me. And tomorrow is our last episode on the Fox News channel. You don't want to miss it. I have a lot to share with you. Tonight it's big picture. When you're down to the last 2 episodes of something that you've worked in for 5 years, and you try to think, what is it I want to leave you with? What is the most important? I haven't been good at narrowing things down. Today, I thought I wanted to spend some time with you on 2 things, the most important things. What's coming our way, one last stab at it, and who do you trust? The media. Tonight I want to talk to you about those things. But I have to start over here with Israel, because you are being lied to. Absolutely, positively, you're being lied to. And you need to know what the truth is. Some analysts got together in Washington, D.C., and now they have come out with this. The 3 things that Washington feels might be the most pressing threats to America. See if you heard these anywhere. Nuclear-armed Iran? No. No, they just want peace. What are you talking about? This is from CBN.com. That's all they want. Nuclear-armed Iran dominating its neighbors. What? By the way, Iran just carried out tests of a ballistic missile capable of delivering a nuclear payload. Just days earlier, Iran said that missiles are capable of striking Israel or the U.S. targets in the Gulf. Worry about this? No. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, that's what I sat down for an hour with Benjamin Netanyahu to talk about. I said, nobody's taking him seriously. Nobody is. What are we doing about it now? Well, Obama wrote a love letter to Ahmadinejad when he first got into office that sought to unfreeze U.S.-Iranian relations. Oh. The second thing that we're worried about is most pressing threat now in Washington. Egypt under control of the Muslim Brotherhood. What? No, the Muslim Brotherhood, they're great. This administration doesn't see the Muslim Brotherhood as even a religious organization, let alone a dangerous one. And 3, Al-Qaeda terrorists roaming free near Yemen's coast, where 40% of the world's oil supply passes through. I haven't heard that. Where'd you hear that? These are all crazy. An oil spike due to an unstable Middle East? What? Let me ask you, do we have a plan for oil flow interruption? What is our plan? What are we doing? The president did just agree to release 30 million barrels from our strategic oil reserve to help at the gas pump. But that's not just us. That's for the entire world. That's not your gas. That's for the rest of the world. We put up 30 million barrels, the rest of the world put up 30 million barrels. So we can relieve the tension around the entire globe. Look, this is not difficult to figure out. There's a lot of people in the Middle East that hate the Western way of life. Heck, there's a lot of people here in America that hate the Western way of life. They think that it is evil. At least in the Middle East, the people who hate it here, they don't believe in evil. The only answer to millions in the Middle East is reestablishing a caliphate. That's not a blanket statement. That's not everybody. There are good people in Iran that don't want a caliphate. But those with power do. These elitist dopes in the media can laugh all they want because they think a caliphate is, I don't know, some sort of fancy hors d'oeuvre. I've never had a caliphate before. Does it have fish eggs on it? Now I like it, huh? They don't get it. When they say, we're going to kill the little Satan and drive the little Satan into the sea and then go kill the great Satan, they mean it. You'd think we'd learn by now, but we haven't. I've shown you several videos on this program. This one I showed you just, I think, a couple of weeks ago. 1953, a group rose to reestablish a caliphate. 6 days of decades of challenging tyranny Notice these are all the guys that we've been in bed with. Pretty much all the guys we've been in bed with. You notice that the regime in Iran wasn't there. Then oppression. They've been challenging that. This is all promoting, I love this one, exposing colonialism, all us and the Jews. This is promoting an upcoming Caliphate conference. Caliphate is spelled two different ways. Caliphate, as we usually spell it here on this program, and also Khalifa, but they mean the same thing. This is their vision for change. There's Khalifa. That means caliphate, a global Islamic Sharia law government. Now this conference is in the UK. Hizb ut-Tahrir is organizing these conferences, like it said, in 44 countries around the globe. They had this in the UK. They had one, I think, in Australia. And the on-the-road Khalifa tour continues. They have just announced that the next one will be in the Netherlands this weekend, July 3rd. This is interesting. Does anybody know who Geert Wilders is? Anybody tell me who Geert Wilders is? Eric.
He is a leading Dutch politician.
I'm sorry, wait, we bring his mic up? Go ahead.
He's a leading Dutch politician, takes a strong stand against radical Islam.
Got it. This guy's been speaking out for a long time. Do you know what just happened to him this week?
He was just cleared of hate speech charges in the Netherlands.
He was just cleared, yeah, of hate speech charges. Right. So now they announced this. It's not like there's any kind of problems going on that they might want to take advantage of. This is July 3rd, this weekend. You got questions about Islamic unity, the establishment of a caliphate, want the destruction of capitalism, the Western way of life? Well, then this is for you. But wait, there's more. They have a promo video explaining where we are, they believe, in history. They believe that we are on the verge of the next great Khalifa or caliphate from Allah. If you look and read the message in this, go ahead and play this message here. You see this message. It is narrated that the messenger of Allah has said, the prophet will be there. Then there will be a caliphate on the prophetic method. Then there will be biting rule for as long as Allah wills. Then there will be oppressive rule for as long as Allah wills. Then he'll remove it when he wills. This is the time they believe there is, because then there will be a caliphate on the prophetic method. They believe that they are at that time that Allah promised through the Prophet Muhammad. They believe that, and they are rallying the troops right now. It is an easy message to sell to people when the United States looks dazed, when Israel is under attack by the whole world. You pull the linchpin out of Israel and the entire West falls. You don't believe me? Well, hell, they didn't believe me when I said you pull out Egypt and it will set the entire Middle East on fire. Is that happening? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes is the answer. The Middle East is on fire. Now, would you like to believe the clowns in Washington and the clowns on television who told you that I was wrong that time? Or how about the time when I was talking about buying gold at $700 an ounce? It's now $1,500 an ounce. When will your neighbors decide to stop listening to the people who are steering them wrong every single time? There are people that want to kill you and your way of life. You destabilize the West and shut it down the minute you shut down Israel. They are trying to keep the fires of the Arab Spring raging, and it's easy to do because we look like we're staggering. And it's not to get democracy as the media elites grab their pipe and believe, yes, it's going to be democracy, it's freedom, yes. No, they want a caliphate, the end of the Western way of life, period. Not even a loving letter written by Obama's auto pen will change their minds. Not even a tersely written resolution from the UN. A caliphate a government established by Islam that represents political unity of the Muslim nations around the globe. Washington doesn't care to understand what is coming. If you look, what worries Washington? What worries them? Jobs and stimulus packages, the debt and spending programs, oil and green programs, getting reelected, but that's low on their list. Middle East and Israel. I contend that they don't care about jobs. They care about the stimulus going to their friends. They don't care about the debt, or they would have done something. They care about spending programs that help them get reelected. They hate oil because they've got spending programs that will go to their friends. Middle East? The Middle East is destabilizing the entire world. If they care about Israel, it's about getting them reelected. Period. That's what really worries Washington, getting reelected. So when are we going to stop listening to these clowns? When are we going to stop listening to them? Because I remember on this program I told you about this. Radicals, Islamists, communists, and socialists. They are missing the boat. There are revolutionaries all around the world who see the giants of the world staggering. They see an opportunity for the first time in all of mankind's history to change the world. Not one country, not one area, the entire world overnight. Washington has other plans. Getting reelected. These guys have other plans. Changing the world for a caliphate or for communism. I have other plans. The last straw for me, now I shouldn't say this. The thing that cemented it for me. Do you know why does anybody know why I put this up on the board? I've said this before. Anybody know why I wrote this on the board to make sure it was in the studio every day? Anybody know why? I did this on January, Tiffany, do you remember? January 30th of this year? Right around there, I said Tunisia will fall, and it will cause Libya and Egypt and the entire Middle East to be set on fire. I said, this is our Archduke Ferdinand moment. Historians will look back 50 years and say, this was the beginning. Because I understood this. How did I understand this? I put this on here because everybody in America made fun of me. Every single pundit from the left and the right, everyone said, he's a laughingstock. He's a fearmonger. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I said to my staff, put it on the board. I'll fall on my sword on this one. I want everybody in America to know who said this and when I said it. And I did it not for my glorification, because I could have been wrong. But because if I was right, maybe somebody would open up another door and say, what else was he right on? What else does he think might come? Because this was way out on a limb. All of these things are happening. Now, how did I know? Because behind this whole section of this set, which we're going to be, this is the last day we use it. The whole section of this set is actually called the timeline. I had this built for this show, and we haven't used it since this started happening in the Middle East. We covered it. But I had this made for history, because history plays such a huge role in my life, it should in your life, in being able to figure out what's happening. I'm not a news guy. I'm just like you. I'm a concerned parent that wants to figure out what is happening. What happened to our country? How did we get here? Where are we headed? The only way that can happen is if you know history. So how did I know what was coming? I know history. History is behind everything. If you know history, you can reasonably predict the future. By the way, tomorrow is my last program on Fox, and I beg you to stay in touch with me, because I am not doing a show like this anymore. I told you the first day on the air here this year, I'm done. I'm done. I'm tired of talking about the problems every night. So I'm going to find the people who watched the show and saw that and went, holy cow, wait a minute. So then what does that mean? What do we do? Go to glennbeck.com. Everything is there. Read it. It's important that you do it today, please. Now, this timeline I've been using, it is all of the stuff that has been happening over history. That's what it was. And we would go back to this to try to understand it. This is the reason why you can see ahead of the curve if you know history. History has all of the answers. Our problems have been so zoomed in. Anybody here watch the first show that I did here on Fox? Anybody see the first one? No? The first show that I did on Fox, I said, it was at the bottom of the hour. Tiffany, do you remember what it was? Tiffany, our executive producer.
Remind us.
She doesn't even pay attention. She's watching like the Flintstones or something right now. The first show I did at the bottom of the hour, I said the problem with the media is that they don't understand that the news is just one piece of the puzzle. They look at it separately, and they're so zoomed in on it. They look at it so closely and go, this is it, look at this shiny object, and then they throw it away, and then they say, look at this shiny object, and they throw that one away. Instead, they should put that down on the table and say, wait a minute. But if you look, this piece over here, and this piece from last week, and this one from the business section, and this one from the entertainment section, all fit. Look at what the puzzle is telling you. Here's what the puzzle is telling me. There is a force greater than the Axis power of World War II forming right now in Asia, in the Middle East, in Europe, and yes, here. That's crazy talk. Doesn't happen that way. Let me show you World War II, Asia, the Japanese. Well, the Japanese had nothing to do with the Germans. Exactly. And yet they fought together. For what purpose? To destroy the Western way of life. Mussolini hated Hitler, yet they fought together. The Middle East. This is the ambassador, I believe, to what was then called Persia, now called Iran. Is it Farsi? Farsi, the word Iran means Aryan. The Persia was changed to Iran after this meeting. In Europe, it was all Sieg Heil. Now, this might look familiar if you pay attention to what's happening today. Let me show you. That's not Germany. That's the Middle East. It's happening. Even though most likely you weren't taught this in school, back in the 1930s, it was happening here in America. They were sending kids off to Hitler camps in New Jersey. This is a Hitler camp in New Jersey, but wait, there's more. I'm going to show you this picture. Look for the clues on where this picture was taken. You'd think that this is Germany. Oh, wait a minute, American flag. Wait a minute, a New York police officer. Wait a minute, an advertisement up here. It looks like it's a meat product of some sort. It's an advertising. Where is it? Yes, bring the picture back. It is in America. It is in New York City. And the advertisement tells you that it's at Madison Square Garden. Yes, a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden with thousands of Americans. You can't see it probably on television, but these are all people all of them people with their arms in the Nazi salute. We have erased this from our history. We've erased it from our memory. But it happened. And once you know that it happened, you'll avoid that "it'll never happen in America" false sense of security, because you know it has happened before, it can happen again, and it is. Only this time around, they're smarter. They're not just having conferences. They're chipping away in our schools, in our churches, through overly pro-American sounding groups that are anything but. They're getting in bed with our politicians, helping them through bribery and everything else to go to sleep. They're on Facebook, Twitter. You may not know them because they've taken the things that you believe and twisted them. Yeah, you want to help the poor? Well, who doesn't agree with that? In fact, Islam and socialism, the Quranic concept of social justice. What? All you need is a structure in place. Oh, and you need one other thing: control. Easy to get control. I'll show you next how. Oh, it is time for change. That is, again, from that promo for that Caliphate conference in the Netherlands. We've already had one in Illinois, the UK, Australia, and now one in the Netherlands. They are looking to bring everybody together, all the Islamic radicals of the world, and bring them together. Change. This is actually the Quranic concept of social justice. The highlights and hazards and risks of capitalism. This is actually by Mohammed Hussein, and it was printed originally in 1947, talking about social justice. That's why the radicals can work together, because they speak the same language. It's all about stopping the oppressors. Have you ever read anything about President Obama's family or his friends? They all believe that it is about colonialism and stopping the oppression. That's why he feels the way he does about the borders here in our own country. We're the oppressors. That's why he's so excited about social justice. The same thing is being used in the Islamic world. Change is about to hit the world. But this time around, the world will change in an instant. First time in human history. The latest attempt to protect us could be the most dangerous thing that has been done yet. And I think a lot of dangerous things have been done. And that is restricting gun ownership here in America. Progressives have figured out the naming thing. They know you can't come out and say it. You need a device. Mayor Bloomberg is one of the most anti-gun rights mayors possibly in the country, and that's saying something. He has pushed more gun regulations in ads by arguing that terrorists are getting guns too easily. Look at the latest effort by Bloomberg. Here we go.
The latest Al-Qaeda plot instructs terrorists on how to buy guns in America.
This is a golden opportunity. America is absolutely awash with easily obtainable firearms. You can go down to a gun show and come away with a fully automatic assault rifle without a background check. So what are you waiting for?
Call your member of Congress. Tell them to close the loopholes that let terrorists and criminals buy guns.
Anybody want to tell me what the Second Amendment is really all about? It's not about hunting and sports, is it? What is it all about? Anybody? Second Amendment? You guys are the quietest audience I think I have ever had. Yes, sir. Second Amendment.
The right to keep and bear arms.
Why? Why do you want it?
To protect oneself and their family.
Against who?
The government.
Sorry? You crazy Tea Partier. The government. Why would you say the government?
Because that's what we need protection from.
Right. Now, you seem like a lunatic if you say that in today's society, but you're absolutely right. And the founders knew it. And the reason why they knew it is because they were trying to get themselves away from an oppressive government. And they studied history. Behind everything is history. Now let's think about this in modern day scenario, because I hate this argument. Oh, you're going to go up against a tank? Yes, if I have to. It's better than a frying pan. But let's just say we agree, well, I don't want the terrorists to have any guns. Where do I sign up? And it gets passed into law. Let's think this through. Do you really think terrorists are going to say, oh, crap! Now where am I going to get my guns? I used to go over to New York and just grab a gun at the gun show and then fly back to Afghanistan and fight Americans there with an American gun that I got at a gun show. No. Darn you, Mr. Mayor Bloomberg. I'm not going to do that. Or is it more likely that terrorists will go to the gun show and kill you in the streets or your school or in Afghanistan? And if they can't get it there, they'll steal it. They'll buy it someplace else. They'll... This is me way out on a limb. Create fake documents? I really don't think terrorists and criminals give a flying crap about... Well, let me ask you this on terrorists. Did they care about the harsh restrictions on hijacking a plane? Tell Congress that we don't want any terrorists hijacking planes. There are restrictions against that one. So why is this so important now? Because who is going to protect you? This is the first step that anyone who wants real power, this is what they do. It's what globalists have been trying to do. This is what radicals and communists and socialists have been trying to do for a long time. Hitler, Mao, Stalin, all of them. What do? Take away your right to bear arms. Why? I've been reading an awful lot about what happened in Poland because I'm going over next week to Poland to do a special on, I'm doing a documentary called Finding Courage. And when I entered this idea, I wondered why more people didn't stand up. You know why? They didn't have a gun. They had nothing to stop or fight the Germans. They had nothing. That's why you have the right to bear arms. Police, unless they're on every single street corner, cannot stop crime. That's assuming that every policeman is not corrupt. But even then they can't stop crime because they can't stop the things that they're not. They'll have to be in your house. All police can do is try to figure out what happened here. When the system is overwhelmed, and I mean the system on the entire planet, somebody had better be prepared to protect themselves, their families, their neighborhoods, and the freedom of all mankind. Never let them take your Second Amendment right, ever. It is a lie to think that you will be more protected without it. Our leaders don't get it. And that's why you're going to need all the help you can get. That's why you need to be prepared, not with weapons per se only. Sooner or later, you're going to need help. Now, I took off the board a few minutes ago what the latest thing they were calling me crazy for. But before that, can anybody remember what they were calling me crazy for? Before, you know, it was the caliphate in the Middle East is going to cause instability in Europe. You remember what they said? I was fear-mongering on something. That's one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about quickly here. Before we move on, I wanted just one more chance to say, please listen to this message before we end this program tomorrow night. Back in a minute. The world-famous author, Robert Kiyosaki, he sold only 26 million books. He wrote a book that I think everybody either has read or should read. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He recently did an interview and offered his advice. And I wanted to play this advice for you because I want to see if it sounds like anything that you're hearing come out of this administration.
There's two possible extreme or financial concerns. We could either go into a depression or we go to hyperinflation.
Now that's not going to land him a guest shot on Oprah, and also the New York Times will call him a buzzkill, but he gets it. Here's a few other things from him. Economic collapse is not a matter of if, but when. He says he's preparing for this inevitable collapse, and that
we have food, we have water, we have guns.
We have gold and silver.
Gold and silver and cash.
What a crazy man. He strongly suggests getting a gun because
The police cannot prevent a crime. Only you can do that. They can only investigate it after you're dead.
While noting that the supermarkets also have less than 3 days' supply. That's why he said food was so important. But he says it's more prudent to have a better safe than sorry mentality.
If I'm prepared for the worst, there's a good chance it won't happen.
He's prepared. He said he's also willing to be a lifeboat for others who didn't prepare.
So come to my house and I'm armed and dangerous and I'll welcome you.
Come to my house. I'm armed and dangerous, but I will welcome you. That's all this program has tried to do in the last 2 years, while staying in the parameters of what the media understands, which is maddening. Try to get you to prepare for a whole new world, a better America in the future, but one that has trouble also on our near horizon. I truly believe with everything in me this audience is the key to America's survival. But you must heed the warnings. You must not trust me or anyone else. You must do your own homework and educate yourself, not on the problems, but on the solutions. And you must be willing to think out of the box. It's a scary place, but I tell you, once you start doing it, it's scarier to be in the dark. My wife and I talk about this all the time. We'll lay in bed once in a while, and I'll tell her, this is really bad news. And then she'll sit up and rock herself to sleep for a while. And we'll talk, and I'll say, would you rather have not known? No, because then we're surprised and we're in trouble. We are the people our founders predicted would come at the time that Muhammad and Isaiah predicted would come. The only question remains is, will you hear the warning? Will you heed the advice? Will you be the people that our founders said would come, and will you do what they said we would do and save man's freedom, one person at a time? Tomorrow is my last broadcast on the Fox News Channel. And I want to thank you sincerely for watching every night. Tomorrow is going to be a very different show. I invite you to tell a friend and make sure that you're here. Tonight, I wanted to cover these last three things. One, Israel is the key. You must stand by Israel and recognize what it means spiritually, politically, and to the West. Second, be prepared and aware. Make sure you know what's going on. But be prepared to be a lifeboat for others. And the last one is trust, but verify. Tonight I wanted to share some of the lessons that I have learned about the television and media while being a part of it. I've been inside the belly of this beast for 5 years now. Before here I was over at CNN. And while I tell you, there are a lot of decent people in this business, the fact is, most, if you look at the whole landscape of the media in newspapers and all of it, most, I believe, are dead inside. This isn't something that I believed 2 years ago. It is now. And to be charitable, I think most media people got in thinking that they would change the world. They were idealistic, but along the way, they got bitter, ugly, and actually grew dead inside because they were convinced that they couldn't change the world. They lost their way because they had to come up through the ranks, and they saw focus groups and everything else. I didn't have that problem. That's what made me unique. As far as TV goes, I just appeared. I didn't know anything about. I knew my first live television show was on this network 2 years ago. It was the parade. Remember, it was my second. Remember that, Harry? It was my second day on the air, and I went, I've never done a live show. Okay, here we go. Could be dicey. I came up through the entrepreneurial spirit of talk radio, where the person on the air is who they are. They can't fake it for 3 hours every day. You hear through it. I was the creation I wanted to be. I didn't have to go through local news and then have to send out tapes and move to a bigger market and have this person program me and this person programming and this person filter me and then put me through a census, a focus group. I never did. I've been who I am every day. Now, there are a few people, like Bill O'Reilly, who, I mean this sincerely, has been my best friend in media, a man I trust, and I believe you should as well. He is a good, decent man. He's very fortunate. He came through the ranks, but he is such a strong personality. You're not going to tell Bill what to do. You're just not. He'll do what he believes is right. Most people don't ever get to that place because they lose themselves, and the only way you get to that place is if you know exactly who you are. I believed when I got into television I could make a difference. I hope in some small way I have. Coming from talk radio, it's easy to stay in touch with actual thinking and feeling Americans every day. But I never realized until I got here that this is a pattern in all media. I've seen it at NBC, I've seen it at ABC, I've seen it all over. There are common sense answers everywhere. But just like the politicians, media execs don't listen to the common sense answers. The people who have the common sense answers are standing here behind the cameras. Can you please pick them up on 6? These guys. Jack is our sound guy. Jack, I said to you day number 1. What'd you think of that? Right? Yeah, sure. I said that to the whole crew. Harry, I remember you. You're a damn near expert on the Middle East. You correct my spelling on Khalifa all the time. You learned everything from me, right? These guys, they're a captive audience. They're regular people who basically come in and punch a time clock every day. They're literally forced to watch this show every day. We pay them to do it, and we never ask their opinion. It's crazy. I did. I have. I had no idea in this position that that's not done. It should be. The media has lost its way because it doesn't recognize the value of the average citizen anymore. The people who are riding the subways. That's why they regulate the internet, quite honestly, because they are terrified that you will figure it out and tell the truth. Washington doesn't even recognize the truth. Rather than searching for truth and answers, the vast majority of media today is just out to fulfill an agenda, whether they even know it or not. The media's heyday came when they were responsible directly to you. The problem is that their only responsibility now is to these giant corporations that see the world many times in a different way, not a bad way per se, just because they're a giant corporation. But they see it in a different way than I think you do. I tell the audience every time they come in that you may like to watch television just like I like to eat sausage, but you never really want to see it made. You don't. It's really bad. Everything's dumped in, and when it comes out in its little casings, it looks a lot different. You're like, is that a piece of a shoe? That's not good. Do you know why Fox personalities wear flag pins, or why so much of Fox is red, white, and blue? I believe it's because CNN, and I know this because I worked over there, decided to embrace their global international self. They're not Americans. They're above it. They're members of the globe. They're objective observers from the international community. Bull crap. This is the country that gave you that opportunity. So it's not about you or about the way you view things. It's about one group of people that see things as internationalists, and you're just somebody who can access their product. You're just another market to them. Now, Fox is also a global corporation, but they decided from the beginning of this network, it's about America. That's what it is. Fox is not neutral on that. That's why they appeal to you. Today, I got into the elevator today and had those little TVs that, you know, we all watch so we don't have to look at each other, I guess. And when I saw the Apple earnings in China for the first quarter, matching all of last year, I think actually, wasn't it quadrupling? It was some ridiculous stat. I thought to myself, America, kiss Apple goodbye. You're a dwindling market. China is growing. Nobody wants American market anymore. You're a secondary market, and that is the problem. You want it, your town, your local media, but the elites, Washington, the media, have decided that the globe is more important. They have already made the change. I told you a long time ago there would be a time that they would try to push you bigger. They would say, this doesn't work, let's go global. We are quickly approaching that time. And what you have is a media that only cares about ratings and sponsors and corporate shareholders, and everything they do is for those things. Don't get me wrong, I'm a capitalist. You must do some of those things. Why do you think I threatened to chainsaw a bunny rabbit? I'm not a stupid guy. There's nothing wrong with profit. There's nothing wrong with ratings. But it has to be balanced in a bigger picture. In the addition to the motivation of making a living, I also believe that it is equally important that there still must be a guiding principle or a set of values and principle. 912 Project, ring a bell? Things that you will not violate for profit or anything else, even your own life. What is the right thing to do? We used to agree on those things. Sadly, it isn't the case anymore. And it's not just the media. I'll show you how it came about next. I am 1 hour and 10 minutes away from walking out this door here at Fox, and that being the end of this program. And I am excited about the future. But I want to share with you, another hour and 10 minutes, things that I have learned. I've been talking about the lack of honesty and integrity in the media, and that you are no longer able to trust blankets of the media. They are no longer accountable to you. And again, this is a blanket statement and not universally true. I believe this country would be vastly different if it wasn't for Fox. But they are generally, media is only beholden to global corporations and shareholders and in some cases ideologues. Now, how did this happen? How do we no longer have a watchdog for Washington? Well, believe it or not, Washington and the media merged. They merged into one, and it was by design. Government and media melded together. The perfect example was NBC the last few years, owned by General Electric, whose CEO sits on the President's Economic Advisory Council, and who turned over NBC's programming to global warming every year for a week, either to fit the agenda of the President or its corporation, General Electric. ABC did what was essentially a primetime infomercial for Obamacare during the most heated period of that debate. Now, how did this happen? Well, I bring you to something that most likely most people in this audience didn't know anything about 2 years ago. Progressivism and Woodrow Wilson. It was the progressives in the 1920s with two advisors from the Wilson administration that started something called the Council of Foreign Relations. People think this is a crazy star chamber, but it's not. It's Tom Brokaw, it's Katie Couric, it's the media people getting together with politicians to talk about policies. That's how it started. The progressives knew they needed somebody to educate the dumb public, and so they got the policymakers together with all the professors to come up with the policies and then bring in the media and educate them to help them educate you. One more thing. Does anybody have any idea when the correspondence dinner started? You know, where the president comes and all the correspondents, and they laugh and yuck it up. Woodrow Wilson. That's the first correspondence dinner president. His people thought again, like the Council for Foreign Relations, if we can just have some camaraderie here, be together, show we're not the bad guys, we can work together. If we make them a part of the team, we'll be able to get things done. Somebody told me, Glenn, you just have to learn to play the game. I said, no, thank you. I've seen it from the inside now over a 5-year period. No, thanks. I'm charting my own course. And I'll know in a year or not whether it was just a crazy idea, or if an individual with his own time, his own money, and his own talent can get together with like-minded people, chart their own course, and still be successful in America, or if the system is so corrupted that it is crushed by the elites and the special interest of the world. Let's pioneer something radically different. Go to glennbeck.com right now to find out how to be a part of it. We're going to reinvigorate the media, entrepreneurship, empower faith, our youth, students, high school and college age. We're going to teach history, and then we're going to make it together. Be a part of it. It's going to be quite a show tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. Second to the last time I get to say this to you. From New York, good night, America.